Hi, it's Mike Stephenson here. Today in this video we're going to take a look at Turbo 360 and we're going to be looking at a feature we have to generate cost scopes. So if you look at the FinOps practices, one of the recommendations is to democratize the management of cost data so that you empower the engineering and operations team to look after the costs that they incur through the applications they develop on Azure. Now, what we know is that in the real world, that's actually quite challenging to do with Azure Cost Management. We have a whole white paper that talks about some of those challenges. And one of the things we think as a third party product is being able to help you understand the context of cost makes it easier to achieve that outcome of democratization of cost data. So here we're going to look at the Turbo 360 portal, and we have the ability to create your own cost scopes. So if you notice here, for example, I've created one for my engineering team, and this is a one that I've kind of manually created. So I create a node on my tree, and I indicate on that node which cost data maps to that node. So then I can have my integration team. And for example, if I drill into that, I can create subnodes on the tree here where in this case I'm looking at specific types of cost, but I could look at things like actually a good example under the applications section. You can see I've got like nodes for different interfaces within my integration team. I could have different environments and stuff like that. Now, what we've added recently as a feature is the ability to generate some of these tree nodes. So um, if you look, let's take a look at an example here. So starting off, I've got this subscription analysis example. Now, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to create a model in the tree where I'm starting off with subscriptions. So each one of these is a subscription, and then each one of these is a resource group. So I've got this model of um, subscription resource group. I could go deeper and I could have other nodes underneath that were generated as well. But in this case, think of me as being a sort of a technical person who wants to go and look at the cost in a fairly sort of physical deployment perspective. So I want to be able to look at my different resource group subscriptions. This node could even pull in subscriptions that exist in different tenants potentially. But I want to get this consolidated view of cost based on a deployment focused view. So what I'm doing to achieve that, obviously there could be lots of subscriptions and resource groups. So to achieve that, if I go back to my subscription analysis tab here, and we've got this feature called autocreate groups over here, and this is where I would configure it to generate that tree view for me. So here, what I've done, I've got it turned on, but if we just go into the edit mode and we'll see how we've configured that. So here I've created a top level node, which is based on the subscription. I've then created a child node here, which is based on the resource group. And then I just save that. In the background, there's going to be a background job running when we process the cost data. So here you would notice that this last run 4 hours ago, so it's going to run on a regular basis each day when the cost data is processed, and that's going to generate my tree view over here, and that's how I get my subscription resource group view. So that works really nicely. Now, you're not tied to just subscription resource group view. Here I've got this resource type analysis. So if you notice over here, I've got nodes that are based on the different types of resources on Azure. So maybe in this case, I'm somebody looking at cost management, and I just want to look, regardless of what subscription, where it's deployed, I want to get a view of all of my, in this case at the top here, this would be all of my Azure API management costs across my entire organization. I could just view that in one place, and I can view cost in different nodes on this tree. So for example, I could have different teams who have their own API management. So I can empower them through democratization to manage their own team costs, but I still want a central view of all of my Azure API management costs or whatever the other resource type is. So this is how cost in context lets us view the cost from different dimensions. Another quite cool way we've used this is under my cost center analysis node on the tree here. So if you notice over here, I've got subnodes for things like customer service, finance, IT. And these nodes are generated based on a tag. So what I'm doing over in the configuration up here is I've basically configured this to use a tag where we've said the filter types tag, there's a tag called cost center. I've created an expression which formats the name of um, my tree nodes, and then that's going to just basically use any values from the cost center tag, and then it's going to generate this tree each time the bill and data job overnight runs. And I could go in here, for example, if I go into finance, so I get a view of any costs related to my finance area. So I could, I'll get pre-built graphs in here and I can customize it and stuff if I want to. I can see here's all my IT costs, for example, in the IT department. Now I could use this tag in a couple of different ways. So maybe I have a hierarchy based on department, then cost center, or I have just flat ones where I might have an application tag. There's a number of different ways you could configure this, and you can create some quite rich tree structures to manage the costs in a way that makes sense for your organization. So we're trying to get you to be able to democratize different views on the data for things like departments, teams, specialist technical areas. And we hope this is a really useful feature for customers trying to get a handle on their cost management data. Thank you for listening to today's video. Have a great week.